Alright, welcome back to Tabletop Thoughts. Today I got some time. I'm going to work on crafting stuff. So, first thing I want to hurry up and finish is this platform. I think it was called a town center. Stone, I just did it's printed in black PLA. So, gave it a dry brush of gray, makes it look like some stones. I'm gonna hurry up and try to do some wood on here. Alright. So bust out my fidget popper. We'll put some ink in it. Around the holidays is a great time to get these fidget poppers cheap. Like I got this one $1 at the Dollar General. I just recently picked up another one, a Ghost. $1, not bad. Okay, you can just drop your ink into it. When it dries, it won't stick since they're silicone. So, makes it nice and easy to clean up. So, let's bust out a paintbrush that's a little bit bigger. And go over all the wood with this India ink. I like using this. Speed paints would be okay too, but it's a lot of, that's a lot of paint for this, for like a terrain piece. So we will stick to the India inks, which also have a lot of pigment to them, but they're not as expensive because they're more made for calligraphy and stuff like that. But as you can see, it has a nice brown color. And once it dries, it gets down in all the cracks, it'll look better, and then we can always come back in with a dry brush of something a little bit lighter, maybe even like a light gray, and just go over the entire piece. That way it'll kind of tie everything together. Sorry, there's a lot of background noise. About right to my right side, maybe 2 feet from me, is my Elegoo Saturn III resin printer, and it is currently running. And then about 2 feet beyond that is my Elegoo Neptune 3 Pro FDM printer, and it is running as well. The only one not running right now is the Mars, and I just took stuff off it this morning, and I haven't had time to slice up anything else for it. But there you can see the brown in there. Doesn't look too bad. That's what I said, for just a terrain piece. This isn't like a main player character or anything, like a terrain piece. I will easily just do a quick paint job just to get it done and on the table, because yeah, just having pieces laying around half complete don't help anybody. So we will finish this, get it on the table, so it'll be ready if I ever need it. Alright. Try to get it all nice and brown. Yep. We'll try to get a few things done today since I'm off work all day. See, when you get a chance, always take it and get some crafting done, because you never know if you plan on doing something, you get called into work, or somebody calls off sick or quits, or you're like, oh, I'll do it later, or something else comes up, your significant other's like, hey, let's watch a movie or something, and there goes your crafting time. So anytime you get a chance, you might as well just take it you know, take advantage of it and get as much done as you can. Especially if it's limited like mine. Alrighty. Alright. That's it, I think. Let's give it a once over, make sure we didn't miss anything. Excuse me. Touch up anything that looks really light, like hardly any paint there. Oh, looks like I missed this spot. Alright. There we go. Well, it looks done. Alright. Not bad for a little bit of work. Alright. Something else I found in my box over there I was going to try to work on today. Just a simple train piece. It's just a giant skull, like stuck in a mound of dirt. So I'm thinking we could take that brown, put it on here. Once that dries, maybe throw on some glue, spread on some flocking, paint this up with some, probably like a speed paint. Or I could dry brush it with just an acrylic paint. Yeah, let's see what I got over here for. Yep, just a cheap ivory, huh? Bust out my palette. Let's see how it looks. Okay. Come on, paint. I can hear you in there. I think I had a little dry patch. Yep, there it is. Right there in the nozzle. Keeping it from coming out. Okay. Again, nice dry brush you can pick up at the dollar store for $1. It's just a makeup brush, and if I ruin it, I don't care. I'll try to keep, you know, I'll try to take care of it, but if it wears out, and I don't feel as bad as I would like the nice ones I bought. I save those for more miniatures and stuff that got more detail. I mean, they are nicer. I mean, just for the money for it, you know. But get a nice overcoat here. Don't have to get every spot, but you know, we want it to be light. Lighten it up some. Maybe we'll go back over that with a speed paint, just a quick, and it won't have to try to pull up from that dark gray the whole way up to a bone color. It's already kind of up there with this dry brush. Okay, let's get that cleaned off real quick. Alright. Bust out that other brush we had. Go back to our brown Indie ink. And we'll just, that way, if we come back in later with a green grass, and it's a little patch and you see underneath it, you'll see this brown, and it makes it look like a more realistic ground, because under the green grass is brown dirt. Oh. Yep. It doesn't have to be perfect, because hopefully most of this will be covered with grass flocking. But just in case, you know, we want that brown in there, but if it's a little patchy and there's other colors in it, that is perfectly fine, because the ground is not just one color. Alright, there we go. That's not too bad. We'll let that sit and dry. Alright. Something else to work on. Last time we had one of these little sessions. We sat and we painted up, well, we highlighted this guy. He is an FDM print, supportless, came off just like that. So I was thinking, I got the slaughter red. We can use that for the wings and the dragon's head. For the goat head and the goat legs in the back, I have this brown satchel I like, so I was thinking maybe using that. For the lion's body, I have this zealot yellow. I think I'm gonna go with that. And for his mane, I like sand golem, the first variety. See, this is speed paint. Then they came out with the version 2, and as you can see, it's a different color. Why did they change colors? I don't know. I really like this color. I don't care for this one so much, though. I ordered it because I'm getting kind of low. I have this bottle, and there's a little bit left in another one. But yeah, I order it now. The new version 2 paint is a different color. But I mean, it's almost just a little bit darker than that. So I don't know what you guys are doing over there, Army Painter, but if you release a color, keep it the same if you change to the second version, because if I would have wrote that down and not like had an extra bottle of it, I wouldn't have noticed that, hey, the color changed on me. Alright, so let's start with our lion. Got my zealot yellow. I think that came with the starter kit I bought. It is the color I like. I'll get a few drops in my fidget popper. Get my brush out, and we'll just come back in and go over everything that is the lion's skin. Okay. You can always come back in later and worry about those claws. We want to make them a bone color. Otherwise, if he doesn't have them extended, his claws would be back and you would not see them. Okay. The lion's face. If I hit his teeth or anything like that, that's okay. I'm going to come back and paint the tongue and the teeth later. Make sure we hit his ears, because his ears would be this color. That way they will definitely stick out from the mane. But yeah, this is a nice model. Again, this is from a company called Bright Minis. This is their Chimera. You know, there's different versions all over. You know, if you need a Chimera, it is not a bad choice, especially if you are a Patreon backer and you get $5 and print whatever you want from the guy. That is a great deal. Okay. That might be it for lion. Okay. Clean off that brush. Alright, let's do the brown next. Alright. anything that's goat gets this brown, except for his hooves. We will keep those if we can. Come in with a bone color. But this guy does not look bad, and that's why I said you can see with the speed paints how quickly you can just get paint on these guys. Is this the greatest paint job I've ever done? No. It's not going to win any awards, but if you had a game session where you needed a Chimera and you painted them up like this and dropped it on the table, I can guarantee you your players would not complain, because I have run a lot of games in my life over many different systems and stuff like that, and I don't think I've ever had anybody, if I actually take the time to paint a miniature, drop it on the table, I've ever had anybody just come and be like, that's awful. You know, your players will appreciate the fact that you paint their minis if they have special ones. Sorry about that, just hit the camera with my head. But yeah, most of the time your players are going to just appreciate the fact that you put in the effort to paint their miniatures. I even paint miniatures for people I work with. There's a lady in particular, her and her daughter. Well, her daughter played Dungeons and Dragons, and I printed out a miniature for her. She got a Hero Forge miniature, and she was just like, hey, could you print this out? And I was like, sure. And after I printed it out, I took a picture of it, sent it to her, and she was like, would you mind painting it for me? Because she didn't have any kind of paints or anything. You know, of course, I was like, why not? I have everything I need. And I painted it up for her, and she appreciated it because she was new to playing. And now the daughter has played for, at this point, I guess it's about a year. But she is now running a game, and her mother, who works with me, is actually in it. So I told her, you know, when you get to that point and you want your own mini, feel free to, if you get me a file, I will gladly print it out for you and paint it if you need. Because I really enjoy just painting and making the miniatures and the whole process. Plus, getting more people into the hobby is always awesome. That's why I don't mind. That's why I don't mind helping out when people need help. I've had friends that run games. I've given them train pieces, miniatures, you know, the whole spiel, just because, you know, if you enjoy playing it and enjoy making it, you know, it's an awesome feeling to help spread it and help the next generation come through. That's why I've run games. It was many years ago, but at the local library, I actually ran a game for teenagers, just because, you know, getting the next generation going is always a nice way to give back, because at some point I was new and somebody taught me. Alright, that's not coming along too bad, so now, whoops, glad I don't break them. It's another nice thing about being a supportless mini in FDM. You can kind of drop it like that, roll it around, you're not going to break it. Because they are a little more durable than the resin ones. Although the resin, you can get some awesome details with resin. Like, this guy was designed to be printed FDM from Bright Minis, but I did this one in resin, so you can tell. But yeah, you can see the slits in the eyes, the teeth, all the scales come out so nice. It doesn't look bad in FDM. It just looks better in resin. It's just, that's what resin has going for it. Is the fact that you you get such great detail. I think I slice most of my miniatures at 0.08 millimeters. And when I slice my resin prints, I'm doing it at 50 micro, so it's, and then I can go down as low as 30 if I really need the detail. So that's, you know, if you look at that, that's half, a little over half the layer lines, and it just looks so much nicer in resin. That's what resin got going for it is. It looks nice. Alright. We'll try to avoid the teeth, but the paint I'm going to use for the teeth when I come back in is a airbrush paint. But it is not a speed paint, so it actually covers pretty well. So, whoops, hit the camera with my forehead again. But I'm not worrying too much about keeping, if I get a little bit of paint on those teeth, because they will get covered up with that other paint. And then I'll come back in with a wash and clean up the teeth, and so you can see the lines in between them and that. So, I'm not too worried about any of that. I'll probably have to come in. This red isn't really, no, it's not bad, but some of the others separate out. You can see all the, you know, like the yellow did, where you can see the, gets into the crevices and stuff like that, and separates out, and the colors are different, and you can see it. This one is not so much, even with the highlights that you can see on this wing. After I cover it up, you can kind of see it, but not the same. So I may have to come in with a lighter version of this color. You can just use a regular miniature paint and come in and do like a dry brush, or get a detail brush and come back in and pull some of the highlights out of these wings in that dragon. Excuse me. Because, I mean, while it looks nice, we can always make it look better with a little bit extra effort. But we're coming along pretty well. That's, I mean, not bad for how much effort did we spend to dry brushes? Like 5 minutes last time. Maybe 10 at most, and that's just because I'm going slower because I'm talking. But, yeah. One more wing. And then we'll set this guy to dry, and then I can always come back in with a miniature paint to do some of the highlights. I'll come in with that, I think it's bone white. I'll show you in a minute once I'm done with this, but it's the bone white that I really like, that we will come in and do the teeth, the claws if I see any, that kind of stuff. Alright, let's see if we can get one more drop in under here. That should be enough to finish this guy. Yeah. I know if any of you watch Tabletop Minions with Uncle Adam, he just had a video about, I don't think it was this last week, this last one, he talked about what's going on in his personal life, and I'm sorry to hear about his mother. I know how that is. I lost mine years ago. But yeah, one of his other ones was about painting handles. Quick look here. See, not a whole lot of effort, but you can see I really like that yellow for the skin. Once it dries, if the sand golem isn't dark enough, I could always go to something a little darker, but that's me. Now the two sand golems, like the version 2 is actually lighter, that's why I don't like it. But sorry, go back to my previous thing. But Uncle Adam over at Tabletop Minions talking about paint handles. So I have two different versions. I got the Citadel one. It's not bad. So, but Fat Dragon Games has a STL file. This will break off. There's a clip in there. I glued everything together. I don't need to do that. But yeah, this is all 3D printed. And you can see you just use a rubber band to hold them. I got a couple of different ones, you know. Nice to hold the mini. Unfortunately, like this one I didn't glue, so you can pop the top off. So this is so you can change them out and have a bunch of these, and you can keep the handle. I like this handle. It fits better in my hand. But the bases on those is too big. So most people will take a pill bottle and attach it with some poster tack or something. But I just grab them and hold it. Alrighty. Now if we come back to this guy, let's see what I have laying around. Saying, hey, here we go. There's a pallet bone. Let's just drop some of this in here, apply it over the top, and we'll see what it looks like. Okay. Let's get a half decent brush. Bristles are soft. That's gonna help out. Okay. All right. So. Get this bone. Over all of this. Yeah. Not great. That's okay. Once we get out that bone color to do the teeth and that, we'll just drop a couple extra drops in here and go over this with like a dry brush to bring up the, you know, like the cheekbones, the bridges over the eyes, stuff like that, because this is too dark, I think. No, I think it's pretty much what I did with my Cyclops when I did the Cyclops graveyard type deal. I also did I believe a Cyclops, just a skull too before, but yeah, I guess that's not too bad. Yeah, we'll bring up the color. We'll come back over it with something lighter, do a dry brush, bring up some of the highlights, stuff like that. But we'll wait for this to finish, and then we're going to come back in and glue some flocking down. I'll give this a little while to, although when it's still wet, I wonder if I can take this. One second here. There we go, get his tongue in there. Might as well, we got the red out. It's already done. There we go. Alright. So I think that's going to be it for today's little tabletop talk. I will continue with some of the bone on the hooves, come back and do his teeth, the horns, his teeth on the lion, and then do a dry brush over this after it dries, and then I'll flock that. And that might all be shown off tomorrow. If you go to tabletopthoughts.com, normally Sundays I do a recap of everything I've completed through the week. So that's not looking too bad. This means I can come back in and do a light gray dry brush over all this, and that way it'll pick up some of the stones and maybe tie all this in. But not too bad. Alright, well, thanks again for watching. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, check out the next video right here. It's packed with more great content. And as always, keep on gaming.